Few moments now to just introduce to you the pentatonic scale. Pentatonic, so that's 5-note scale. We've talked about octatonic, and it's an 8-note scale. This is the pentatonic, 5 notes. I'd like to look at a piece by Ravel here. This is his trio in A minor. The third movement is a Passacaglia. This is just the opening, where just the bass line shows up here. The theme for the Passacaglia. The piano presents it, and I'll move it closer so you can see the notes better. But I hope you'll listen to it now. And I'm going to record the notes that occur here so that we have the whole collection of pitch classes using a clock face diagram. In this, I start with C here as 0. And since there are 12 pitch classes, I'm going to be putting them around this clock face. As we've talked about, it's kind of like a spiral of pitch classes that just move up and up and up like this. And we're looking down that spiral. And all the C's at whatever octave are all lined up on top of one another. So this C represents a lot of C's, all the C's out there, and all their enharmonic spellings as well, their enharmonic equivalents. So B sharp fits in this spot as well. It's handy because you won't accidentally miscount enharmonic spellings if you just use this method here. Let's see, we've got F sharp, yeah, G sharp, and E. I think I got them all there. This is pentatonic. So we end up with 5 dots representing B, C sharp, E, F sharp, and A flat. And part of the value of displaying these on here this way, displaying the pitch classes on a clock face, is that you can see the intervallic properties in a hurry. This pentatonic collection has only whole steps and minor thirds as you go around that would be basically moving scalarly. In scalar order, you're going to encounter a step, whole step here, minor third there, or 3 semitones, whole tone, and again the minor third or 3 semitones. That's all you get, and that makes a great deal of ambiguity, which I think plays a role in making this tune so haunting and beautiful. Let me see if I can find a C sharp. Close. Okay, so at the beginning, you could hear this as 1 7 1 4 3 5 4 3 1. You could hear the opening note C sharp, this guy, as your center, but it is also possible to hear that as 5 5 4 5 1 7 2 1 7 5. You could reinterpret it in that way. That's making F sharp your center. Now we could think about this key signature as maybe a clue as to how Ravel was thinking about it. We could also listen to the larger context and make some determination about what we think, help us decide between C sharp and F sharp as our center. I guess the signature, since it's got kind of a minorish sound, would point to F sharp as a center for us. Let me make another point now. Oh, and I should point out too that even this tune ends on an F sharp over here, so maybe that's another good clue for us, that in the larger context we're getting C sharp to F sharp motion, which is a little ambiguous, but that puts some weight on the F sharp right off. But then to end on it as well, that helps support the notion that F sharp is center here. But it is ambiguous, and that's how pentatonic is, because you don't have any half steps. Okay, I've added a couple little marks here to show that if you were to add 2 notes, you would go from 5 to 7 and create a diatonic collection. In other words, the pentatonic is a subset of the diatonic, but by leaving out any half steps, you create a certain amount of ambiguity. you can see the half steps. If you were to add an A and an E flat in here, you'd have half steps here and here. You can see those X's there. I'm using X's to mark the A and the E flat. You'd have half steps, and those half steps would help you locate sort of where you are and give, well, if I put those two notes in there, I'd have F sharp, A, I'd have a Dorian situation. So F sharp Dorian would include those two notes. Now I'd like to turn to another pentatonic and see how the same configuration comes in, but spun around a little bit. Around the clock face, you can spin the same pattern and get another pentatonic collection. So this is another piece. It's the middle section in a piece called Voiles by Debussy. It's from his book of Preludes. Is it book 1? Yeah, book 1, Voiles. The whole rest of the piece is whole tone, but this middle section is pentatonic. Let me see, I scribbled out a clock face diagram for it. It's really easy to figure out what's going on here, though, if you just imagine what it feels like to play this big scalar order presentation of all the notes. If you do that, you'll feel that your fingers are on all the black keys. And the black keys form this pattern that we've been talking about. It's pentatonic. It's got whole steps and minor thirds, but no half steps in there. Okay, so this is a pentatonic, but it's E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, and then I'm back where I started. So this is how the collection appears around a clock face. Notice how similar it is. Got the three notes clustered together on one side with their whole steps, and then this isolated whole step on that side, minor thirds there and there. So you can spin this one 2 clicks and you get this one. Now this has a very different sound, but by the end of this passage, right before getting back to whole tone land, the emphasis given to the E flat starts to make it sound like a center. You've got a third here, E flat to G flat, and then a fifth from E flat to B flat. So some emphasis given to the notes of what I'm hearing is the central triad here, E flat minor, and then there's also a D flat, which sounds like the subtonic, like a low scale degree 7. Let me get an E flat here. Take a listen to this and see if you don't agree that you can hear 7 1 3 7 1, and then 7 1 with a 5 in there this time, 7 1, and it can sort of settle down on that E flat, giving you one little bit of centricity in the midst of a whole tone piece that's atonal. No sense of center for those other places, although there are focal pitch classes in it. I think the pentatonic is really nice because it does have that ambiguity, and because it doesn't just sound like so many other things, and that's of course what these composers are trying to do. They're trying to explore some new sounds, and the pentatonic works well for them.